And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the monastery, the open bar of the internet, the world's greatest shit show, and the place where we, the good brothers and sisters of this most holy of temples, seek enlightenment through the drunkest, craziest, and most batshit ways possible. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me, I have a newcomer into the temple, coming to us from Insight Games vis-a-vis Newborn Games, the creator of the upcoming game Asilo. I'm hoping I get things pronounced right. If not, doing the best I can. The one and only Daniel Carvalho. How you doing today, man? Or tonight, in your case?
Yeah, on my side of the world, it's night, and I'm doing better now that I'm here with you in your humble monastery. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for coming in. So, I suppose I'll start with the tradition of the humble beginnings, the origin story, as it were. I'd like you to walk me through your first introduction to role-playing games and what made it stick.
Okay, quick question. Are we talking about TTRPGs or RPGs in general? like video games and such?
Both.
Both. Okay. So basically, my background is on video games. I started playing video games from about 4 to 5 years old, and I believe so that my full-on hardcore role-playing game was Arx Fatalis from Arcane Studios. If I can pinpoint, I believe that was the closest I had at the time about a real role-playing game.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to TTRPGs, it was about 2014, 2015. I was browsing YouTube. I came across a video from a YouTube channel called Node that had a session of Dungeons and Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
And I started watching it, and for starters, I knew what D&D was. In the sense that I knew it was a game where you role play a character, and I knew it from shows like the Big Bang Theory and whatnot. But watching that video, that was the first of 3 parts of
Hang on a moment, folks.
Oh, this is wild. I like this.
Yep.
I want to know more. I want to see how deep this rabbit hole goes. I saw those 3 videos. Then the algorithm got me hooked into Critical Role, and the rest is history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can certainly get that particular thing. So, with Asilo, this is a very psychological kind of affair, and
Yeah.
that kind of thing is a very deliberate choice. So, what prompted the chain of events that led to the creation of Asilo as it is?
Okay, so at the time, 1 or 2 years after I started to explore the TTRPG scenario here in Portugal, me and a couple of friends got together and created some sort of brand, so to speak, called the Role Initiativa. And one thing that we had was each month we would have a small campaign of a certain game. One month it will be Dungeons and Dragons, another month it will be Powered by the Apocalypse, and it came a time where the next month was coming up, and we didn't have a game. And I was like, I see people on the internet claiming that Call of Cthulhu is something interesting, and maybe we could try it. And everyone at the table was like, good, then you will prepare the session, you will prepare the campaign. And I was like, well, I guess. So at the time, I barely knew Lovecraft's work. I didn't know how to play Call of Cthulhu, and I had a deadline to read rules, prepare everything, and I couldn't do both things. I couldn't explore more about Lovecraft's work and world, and at the same time read the rules. So I focused on this last aspect. I prepared the rules, I prepared the session, and I started playing it. And my sole focus on it was the sanity mechanics and how it affects the characters. And as things started to happen in the session and everything started to get a little more weirder and dangerous and inhuman, dice will start to roll, and it started sort of breaking the mood and the immersion. It was like, okay, now you roll this. Based on that roll, now you will roll this. Okay, now you're just going to roll again to confirm and to see if you lose sanity or not. and I left the session wondering there should be another way to make this more fluid, and that was the motto that led to sit down and start to design what would later be Asilo.
Hmm. Yeah, I can certainly get that. And obviously, the one of the big things about Asilo is the premise of the PCs being patients within this asylum.
Yeah.
And is it one of those cases where the way the asylum is laid out could vary from table to table, but there's certain recurring facilities within it?
The way the asylum is constructed, and according to the tools that I give in the book, it is made in a way that it can fit what you want it to be. In the book, there are some sort of core elements that you can use in your game sessions. You can frequently use the name Good Hope Asylum. You can use characters like Dr. Copeland and Dr. Morris that are the head staff of the asylum. But you can custom made it the way you see fit, and the same goes for the kind of stories you want to tell. You could go for something eldritch or Lovecraftian-esque vibe, or you can go to something more cyberpunk-ish, or you can focus on what I feel works best, which is to focus on the clinical horror aspect. And there is a reason why I say this, because when it comes to creating horror, and when you present players with monstrosities and things that are beyond human comprehension, you can use that as a shield, stating that, okay, this will never happen in the real world. But when you dive deep into history and you see the kind of medical practices that were used in order to actually help, because at the time that was the point of everything, was to help people that had mental issues. When you pick that up, implemented it in a session, and confront the players with these sort of procedures, it's sort of its own, because it happened, and who knows what could happen in the future when it comes to the evolution or the other way around when it comes to science.
Yeah, I get that, and there's plenty of material that can be used as a kind of launching point for that sort of thing. Speaking of that, are you familiar with the concept of Appendix N?
I don't recall at the moment. No, could you elaborate?
Appendix N was something that was in the early editions of D&D that listed off different inspirational media, whether it be music, whether it be film, whether it be television, whether it be other games or video games. Just something within other media that can help establish the tone to the players and GMs who might run it. What would be some of the media that would be in Asilo's Appendix N?
Oh, okay. The big one will be Silent Hill. I'm a huge Silent Hill fan. I played basically all of the games except for the new ones. I read all the comic books. I listened to Akira Yamaoka's soundtrack almost religiously. It's the soundtrack that I go to when I need to sit down and write. But there are a lot of good examples. For example, if you are more of a movie guy, you could go for Jacob's Ladder or Shutter Island. If you are a book guy, you would go, for example, for Crime and Punishment.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the way the mind of Raskolnikov degenerates as he starts to rationalize what it did and how his actions start to gnaw at him. And basically everything that has some sort of psychological element, because that's what Asilo tries to do, is to put you in a situation where you are healed, and there are things that are being implemented, whether it be embryonic projects or more developed procedures that are being used to cure you. You are in the place of cure, and you are ill, and you need to be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can get that, and it seems that as far as the core setup with die rolling, uh, you're primarily using a single d6 roll. Is that correct?
Yeah, the system focuses only on d6s.
Mm-hmm.
So if you either by whatever action you're trying to do, you roll a d6, and the higher the number, most likely it is your chances of succeeding. And the same goes for rolling stress. When you make a stress roll, you once again roll a d6s, and the result is added to your character sheet. You fill in the stress dots, and you can start seeing how your character degenerates.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference is when, for example, you're making a stress roll that was triggered by your phobia. The only difference is that you, instead of rolling 1d6, you will roll 2.
Mm-hmm. 2 and add them together, or 2 and pick the higher?
2 and add them together, because it is your phobia. It is the thing that you hate the most that triggers you the most.
Mm-hmm. And given the fact that when you're dealing with these with very narrative heavy mechanics, what I call blank check designs, that is often a very wide net that you are giving both players and GMs. And given that there's 3 of them on the character sheet proper, the personality type, goal, and secret.
Mm-hmm.
Within the full book, do you plan on putting in advice on what would count as a good example of, say, goal or secret, and what would be a bit too broad or a bit too specific?
Yeah, in the book there are the examples that you can use.
Mm-hmm.
And you can choose them or you can roll them. Those are the main examples. But for some reason, for the kind of character and the kind of story that you want to tell, you don't find the examples that suit your needs. You can talk with the caretaker, the game master,
Mm-hmm.
and see what can be arranged, what changes need to be done to what is already provided in the book in order to fit those needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. This is one of those pet peeves I've had with some games that lean into narrativist, but
Mm-hmm.
instead of providing guidance on where the line is and isn't, it does the GM where the players can just talk through it and figure it out. And that's kind of like throwing somebody into the middle of the pool and saying swim, damn it.
Yeah, I understand that, and it is a valid point. The tools are there; it
Mhm.
works in the sense that if it is your first time picking up the book
Mhm.
and you have no idea how it works, you can just roll, or you can choose and create your character with the tools that are present. If for some reason you don't think that they will fit, then have a conversation with the people around the table, and tweak them a bit. You are free to do so.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, with that in mind, when it comes to doing a session, is this the kind of game that is better suited for individual episodic styles of campaign, or for more long term?
I use Asilo as a one-shot game.
Mhm.
It works best when it comes to one-shots. In the first iterations, I had expanded upon the possibilities of having more than one session.
Mhm.
But the thing is, from all the sessions that I had playtesting the game, um, it never it never happened canonically. The closest thing I had was a player that was using the same character, because that character survived several iterations of the game until the character ended up dying in the last session. So when it came down to make some heavy cuts on the book and on the game, I confronted that situation where I was like, why am I creating a full chapter to a campaign mode that in the last maybe 1 to 2 years was never used? Maybe it's just occupying space. So I discarded it and focused on creating a game that works better for one shots. One
Mhm.
shots that are intense, they are full of juicy drama and character degeneration and a lot of weird things happening, and leaving everyone at the table with their minds open to a new experience.
Mhm. Yeah, I can certainly get behind that. Now, with that in mind, when it comes to those one shots, would you say that that's something that can be built around a kind of act structure? A kind of three act structure of escalating.
Oh yeah, yeah. That some scenarios actually use some form of structure in that sense. That you have the Act One, which is the introduction, the the Act Two, that is basically the escalation and the investigation, the Act Three, which is the revelation that way, and you have a clear walkthrough, so to speak, as how the session will go.
Hmm. That
That is
sounds
actually.
that sounds very much uh, like the four act structure that's seen in a lot of media across Asia. What's known in Japanese as Kisho Tenketsu,
Oh,
um,
okay.
which is introduction, development, twist, conclusion. That is a very big simplification of it. There's a bit more that goes into it, but that's the basic outline.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and this has been used in things like game design. It's been used in stories. It's been used in copy editing, uh, and a lot of other formats. Uh, kind of in that same level of ubiquity um, as the three act structure is in theater, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
But within that, I did now in the preview material you did send, I did see that there was a few story examples, and I'm guessing with I'm guessing with each of them, and possibly others, if there's going to be more examples in the full book. Will each of the story examples you have kind of going along a different theme with the concept?
Oh yeah. Every scenario in its own way brings um, a new face to the clinical order aspect. One of the scenarios that is in the book, it focuses in the clinical order aspect where um, an extinguished practice is used,
Mm-hmm.
um, while the other scenario brings on a more experimental and what if scenario when it comes to um, freely explore science and the people that you have at your disposal in order to achieve a certain goal. I have other scenarios prepared that hopefully, depending on how well the game found goes, that go in a more supernatural way, in a more slasher way, and deep down just be there to suit all sorts of preferences depending on the reader and the potential game master will enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can certainly get that. Now, with that in mind, what are you shooting for as far as the launch of its crowdfund? Because I think you are going to be launching this on, I believe, Kickstarter later this year.
We are preparing the game fund campaign for the 14th of April.
GameFound. I know it was one of the crowdfund platforms. I just couldn't remember
Yeah.
which one. And sometimes when you go through a bunch of them, they can kind of blend.
Yeah, I feel you. It's understandable.
Yeah. But as far as the page count proper, are you shooting for around 100 pages maximum?
Maybe 100, 150, depending on art and all of that stuff. We're not producing a big book when it comes to page count. It will be A5. Um, so a very portable book, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. I can certainly get that. And I'm guessing that's going to be running on GameFound for, what, 30 days?
Something between 25 and 30 days, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. And once the GameFound link is up, I will update the video with a link to that. But with that said, and I know this was a relatively short one, but a light game sometimes requires a amount of coverage. But I do want to sincerely thank you for taking the time out of your schedule and braving time zone hell to come all the way to my monastery and enjoy the madness that happens here.
Well, it's an hell of a pleasure, if I can say so myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a pleasure to talk with other people that have different backgrounds and different insights when it comes to either games and life in general.
Mm-hmm.
And you, my fellow monk, are one of those people.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, and anytime you see fit to return, the door is always open. As I often say around here, drinking is not mandatory, but it is encouraged.
Why shouldn't it be? But if you allow me just to point something out.
Go ahead.
For those that are interested, the GameFound page is up. Just the countdown is not set, so you can't back the project as it stands. But you can check it out and see what's there. And you can have access to a free PDF to Patient Zero, which is choose your own adventure sort of game. And followers can have also access to a gift that takes the shape of 2 exclusive scenarios. So for those who are interested, curious in any way, the GameFound is there for them to see.
Yeah, I can certainly get that. And when you can send me that link, and I will do the update.
Yeah, sure. I can. Could I send you right now, or you're on the?
Yeah, you can do that. And I do appreciate that. And I know that the countdown isn't there yet, but I think you can still follow it so that if you've got
Yeah,
an account on GameFound, you'll be emailed when it goes live.
yeah, exactly.
Uh, so let me take care of that, and that is going to be in the description on the YouTube page. Um,
And could
and
I ask you about from what you've seen from the book and what it aims to do and the mechanics and how the sanity works? What were your thoughts?
um, mechanics wise, it is very straightforward. Uh, the
Mm-hmm.
only the o- the only thing for me is that because of the fact that it is doing a very specific experience,
Mm-hmm.
this is a game that is going to live and die on guidance. Specifically on guidance for the role that the player has and the role that the caretaker has. And
Mm-hmm.
that is going to require examples. It's going to require possibly an example playing out of a full story. I mean, the story
Mm-hmm.
examples are nice, but I think some sort of read along of a example session would be paramount.
Mm-hmm.
That basically providing guidance on how the flow of the game works at every step is going to be important, so that people aren't being thrown into the middle of that pool I mentioned before.
Yeah, I feel you.
And no, I know that sounds like I'm expecting hand holding. I'm not. A lot of people make that mistake whenever I talk about guidance in very narrative heavy games. It is more about making providing clarity as to what the
Yeah,
game is
exactly.
trying to do, what the game is not trying to do, because at the end of the day, Asilo is more of a theme park than it is a sandbox. If that makes any sense.
Eh, I
'Cause-
like the choice of words.
yeah.
That's interesting.
And what I mean by that is a sandbox will usually have a setting where you can do a near infinite variety of stories.
Mm-hmm.
You know, something like, say, the Modern Knights in Vampire, or Night City in Cyberpunk. You have a certain area where you can do a variety of stories and tones and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Asilo is not that, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some games are not going to be sandboxes. That's just
Yeah,
how it is. Asilo is a theme park, and theme parks, which obviously I think everyone's been to a theme park at least once in their life, whether it be physically or virtually, whether it be the bigger ones or just the stuff at a local fair or festival. Uh, the key word with that is theme. This is why you have a bunch of if I go to Universal Studios, for example, there's a bunch of different areas themed around a particular
IP.
region, a particular film, a particular franchise, so on and so forth. What you have with Asilo is one of those sections you would see in a theme park that is built around this one particular thing, with a certain amount of variation to be certain, but at the end of the day, all roads lead to Rome.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of distinction is important. And because of the fact that it is built around that theme, it's most paramount to showcase um, what directions that theme can go in, and what directions it can't. That's not to say put out a chapter saying this is what the game can't do, but hammer home what it is built around and showing examples throughout of what it can
Mm-hmm.
do. That's my take on it. And of course, as I always tell people, make sure to have proper bookmarks and make sure to have an index.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That is something that is a I will die on this hill kind of thing, because one of the big reasons why Palladium's my whipping boy is they have these big 200 300 page books that do not have indexes and have table of contents that are full of lies. And
Oh,
when I need a specific rule, I need it now. I don't need to be fumbling about trying to find where exactly in the book it was, because I'm probably looking up to clarify that rule while I'm playing. And bad navigation is one of those things that I immediately dock points whenever I see it. Like if somebody's got like a 200 page book and it doesn't have in a PDF form and it doesn't have bookmarks, that's a problem.
yeah, and it's a valid one in the way the books are produced in the digital format. Bookmarks and hyperlinks and whatnot. It's mainly in this genre, in the TTRPGs, in the storybooks. You need those things to help you navigate and get you where you need to go.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be there. It's not nice to have. It needs to be there.
And I I give a little bit of slack regarding hyperlinks because that's still a relatively new thing.
Hmm.
I'm a little less inclined to give that slack when it comes to bookmarks, because we've known how to do bookmarks in PDFs for at least 20 years. Like, we're not in a situation where PDFs are this brand spanking new thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's more or less my take. I think the other thing is make clear that it's more built for one shots than a lengthy year-long campaign. That's not to say you couldn't do it. It's just you're gonna have to do some work in the process. But that's where I stand with a lot of what's present here. But with that said, as always, a sincere thanks to everyone who took the time out of their schedule to come onto the show and enjoy the madness. And there'll be plenty more where that came from, as there always is here on the open bar of the internet. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.